Hello, everyone. Those of you who are in, please find your way to a seat. Those of you who aren't in, what on earth are you doing? It's already 17 minutes past the hour. I am delighted to welcome onto the stage now the Honourable Valeriy. He's the Ambassador of Ukraine to the United States, based here in Washington, D.C. Before that, he was an advisor to the Foreign Ministry in Ukraine. So he's seen the challenges, obviously, facing his country ever since the conflict emerged there in 2014, and seen it from all sides, both diplomatically, but also seen the practical effects that are an ongoing scourge in his country. And today, we have the opportunity to hear from the ambassador, I think, on 2 or 3 platforms this week. But first of all, we're going to just look directly at the cyber threat as you're seeing it right now in Ukraine. The nature of it, the sheer extraordinary extent of it. So, Ambassador, please, describe for us the experience of just day-to-day operation living in Ukraine and the nature of the kinds of challenges, threats you are receiving regularly in cyberspace.
First of all, thank you, Ed. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you, because I'm for the first time in this beautiful conference and beautiful city. And I like a lot to exchange with you. Frankly, it's only for my first attempt just to understand what will be in future. But what I understand very good, without secure countries and secure people, we will not achieve any future, and even research can be absolutely impossible. So Ukraine understands that from 2014, when we living together with neighboring country Russia for a long time and have a very good relationship, finally faced attack of our neighboring country on our territory. So it was war, so-called hybrid war, but it's a real war, and still, unfortunately, continues. Yesterday we lose 1 soldier and 3 wounded. But essential part of this war, the complex of the means that's used by the aggressor, and we see the cyber attack is a very important and essential part of this war. I just give you some example on this attack on Ukraine, as mostly beginning from 2014. And the main objective of this attack, to undermine stability in the country, just demonstrate there's a model of development in the country that Ukrainian people chose in 2014 for European, Euro-Atlantic integration. United States is a main partner, and Russia was absolutely against that. So they tried to undermine this unity of Ukrainians, just achieve this goal in the future, and using this cyber attack, information attack. And it was not new for us just interfering in our election. We had the same situation in the previous election. Russia every time tried to have impact on our election, but for the first time we saw this, how can be used new technologies for that. And what's not less important, information attack goes in parallel with cyber attack on our infrastructure. And there's a real threat for the country, because maybe some of you remember Soviet time Chernobyl case explosion, and that's for Ukrainians, in hearts of Ukrainians, is something that's happened in our soul. This will not happen in the future. We want to have that. And Russia just demonstrated this can be if you have external attack for the critical infrastructure. Let me just give you some concrete example how it's happened in my country. In May 2014, during the Ukrainian presidential election, our cyber agencies detected distributed DDoS attacks and other attempts to hack emails, alter what tells and fake the final results. How it's happened? They just hack the server of Central Election Commission and put on the screen the fake information about the guy who is a right-wing candidate, he's won election, and give this in the Russian media, including the state media. Russian First Channel reported that this candidate had won and broadcasted the fake graphic. Even though it had never...
This is before the Electoral Commission had even announced who the winner was.
2 hours before closed polls. You can understand, you can imagine how it can change voting result. December 23, 2015, with the help of the Trojan Black Energy 3, which was previously used by Russian hackers, about 30 substations of regional energy distributor, one of our distributor in the west part of Ukraine, were disconnected. More than 200,000 inhabitants, this region remained in the middle of winter without electricity for a long time. So it's just attack against human being. December 6, 2016, there was a hacker attack on the internal telecommunication networks of the Ministry of Finance, the State Treasury, the Pension Fund, with damaging a number of computers and also destroyed critical database. This led to delayed budget payments by hundreds of millions for Ukrainians. December 15, 2016, the DDoS attack on the site of Ukrainian railway company completely blocked its work during the day. February 14, 2017, a massive cyber attack was recorded which was carried out of state and commercial organization of Ukraine. This is sending Trojan software RASI. And the most significant, June 27, 2017, Ukrainian state and commercial sector experienced one of the most massive and harmful cyber attacks by the file encryption virus NotPetya. Its victims were the Ukrainian telecommunication system, airport, Ukrenergo, Energo company, many banks, mass media, TV channel, gas station, many other companies. In October, finally, October 24, not finally, but for this period, 2017, Kyiv Metropolitan Company and Odessa International Airport, it's the south airport of Ukraine, were attacked using virus encryptor BatRabbit. The virus was distributed with the help of compromised Russian media websites under the guise of updating the Flash player. According to the results of the study of the BatRabbit, part of its code was taken from the NotPetya virus, which may indicate that their cyber attacks were carried out by the same hacker group. So that's examples. Can you imagine how a massive attack against my country happened? And now we understand what can happen after that and how it's important to prevent this attack and have the response for that.
We're going to, talk through some of those issues. I just want to, just to put some of that, of course, in context. President Poroshenko, I noticed in 2016, December, he made just one example. This is just a snapshot. 6,500 cyber attacks recorded in a 2-month period up to December 2016. I think the reckoning, and I think it's widely acknowledged, is this is a blitzkrieg, cyber blitzkrieg against one country which has not been seen in any other country around the world yet, ever. So it is on a scale against a country which, of course, does not have the massive economic resources that other countries have, but it's having to deal with that. And I think there is also, I think it's right to say, a widespread suspicion or belief or assumption by many cyber experts that Russia is possibly treating Ukraine as something of a testing ground, and that the attacks against the United States power supply system this year recorded were possibly an attack that had already been tried out, of course, on the Ukrainian power supply system on a couple of occasions, right, in 2015 and 2016. So this is an ongoing fact of life. So let's just talk now about what that feels like and what that, how you actually manage. How do you manage as a country where not just your state ministries, but so many of your major private companies are all having to just literally function around this kind of constant barrage?
Now, when we came with my friends after election 2014 with President Poroshenko in the office, together, by the way, with my friend, the deputy head of administration, Mr. Shimki, who was last year here. And he's a CEO of Microsoft in the region. And, so he told me many things about that, and we are secure. First, we secure our presidential administration. Just not allow them to hack our system, and we implement everything just to make the secure system inside the presidential administration. After that, we implement this in the governmental level, and we have many companies deal with it, but mostly our specialists and professionals works for abroad, we on the third position in IT professionals in the world, so we help a lot for the United States in that, in Valeriy and for Boy and for Microsoft, but for Facebook. But we can imagine this happened with us. So it seems like research, the company works, business, but it's happened because behind this attack now states. I'm ambassador, I can say about other states, you can mention another states, but I'm mostly about Russia because we have approved and confirmed information about that. So state Russia, including intelligence of Russia, use these cyber attacks for the main objective, as I told, to undermine stability, undermine unity and identity of the country. So what can do in this situation? First of all, we can recognize the importance of the problem. And we did it. We adopt the concept of cybersecurity. 2 months ago, our parliament voted for the law on cybersecurity. So, by the way, we support, and thanks for that, experts from the United States and Great Britain, Canada, other countries of Europe. And finally, we now have understanding about terminology. Because before that, we discussed cyber attacks or information attacks, and still, by the way, for you it's understandable. For us, I mean the bureaucrats or diplomats, not clear understandable which kind of attack. Information or cyber is mix of this attack because it's just beginning of this process, just identify this terminology. And after that, after recognition of importance, we create the special center in our National Security and Defense Council, and also now creating new, my colleagues in the United States that's helped doing that, knows about that. We just create a new center, just train the new specialists and experts in this field. So energy, infrastructure, important, we have a special program. American Congress this year include in NDA support Ukraine for 10 million for develop this program of energy security. We also have the program for the defend the critical infrastructure and our networks with AT&T, with other American companies, with European companies. We also create platform of in this case I myself. I'm not expert, but I understand the importance of this 2 years ago. And they create platform among our universities, beginning from George Washington University, Georgetown University, because it's closer to us, but now discuss with Indiana University how we can develop this program. So I think it's very important, just having this exchange with professionals and just provide bureaucrats tools and means how to respond for this.
So is it your utilities, for example, does everything have a backup which is offline? I mean, is that just the fact of life? You have to have a kind of 19th, 20th century version of everything that can't be attacked on that level. Is that one practical symptom of it?
Well, I can give you another very practical example how, if you wish, how I've been under this attack as ambassador, as a public person, and how it comes to me of importance of this. When I came as ambassador 3 years ago to Washington, D.C., very soon I faced the problem that is creating fake account on Facebook. Immediately it's put in the messenger, and on behalf of the ambassador and the government of Ukraine, it was invited for jobs in Texas and Houston, having 10 rooms. So, and I can understand what's happened. And after that I understand, because next things just claim me, these people send the money, $100 or $200 initially just for receiving this job. And after that, when they send this money, they ask what's happened. I'm in a position or not. And after that, if it's not happened, they said, ambassador, who is your problem, not our company. And after that, it's applying to the American courts. So it's like, and when I ask FBI guys, just help us, because I'm a public person as congressmen and senators, I can ask them about that. And FBI told me, yes, we found, it's not in the United States. I can share more about that, but it was in Europe. And these guys can work outside. easily. It's very cheap. Very cheap. You can have, I don't know, $10,000 and have injury for person for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's another problem if you ask from a practical point of view.
So you're saying basically you are getting a lot of support, right? Technical support from major private corporations, American corporations and others, just to keep you afloat in this situation. Is that right?
Yeah, we have good cooperation with our partners in Europe and the United States. I believe it's a program that's managed by State Department. And we plan next month is to make happen this first meeting of our it's a coordination mechanism, interagencies mechanism, including the university in Kyiv. I work on that now. After that, we clarify what we have to do as a plan, a roadmap for the next period. And we also have a very good cooperation in the cyber in the military, cyber in Pentagon. So now, tomorrow or today, tomorrow, we will have a meeting by President of Ukraine with the head of the cyber in the Pentagon. So we work with all agencies, but what's important for us, this public-private partnership, because we understand without big companies, with social networks and control this, we can't win. And another important thing, we have been united, because any country, even the United States, can manage that without support, without cooperation with Great Britain, with Canada, with other countries, Japan, in Asia. So it's very important. So we create this international platform. One of the part of this platform is a NATO platform. NATO have now new centers in Latvia and Lithuania. And Estonia, it's the Baltic states. Baltic states take this responsibility. So we have many mechanisms. But you ask me about this, we're doing everything. But it seems to me we respond, not prevent. And this
Do you retaliate?
Yeah.
Do you retaliate?
Once again, it's important to make the real steps in the needed time. Because we can discuss this for a long time, for decades. But we need now action. Act now. And that's for myself as ambassador, the most challenge for us. So we discuss everything, we create this system, we create networks, we create mechanisms, but attacks continues and even increase.
You don't attack back at Russian installations?
Okay. It's a discussion. Okay, I hear a question.
I'm a journalist, I've got to ask this question.
Dennis yesterday said no comments. In that case, I also, as ambassador, can say no comments. But
excellent answer.
We discussed it. You know, it's a discussion continues in the United States. From my point of view, according to American new adopted strategy, cybersecurity strategy, cyber attack is a part of warfare. If you have a warfare, you need to have the opportunity to make a response. Some prevention measures is absolutely normal thing in warfare.
But you consider yourself to be formally at war with Russia, and Russia is not formally at war with you, is it?
We are not in war with Russia formally. It's
but in reality, you are.
Yes. Reality, we lose reality very damaging for the country. We lose 11,000 people killed. And that's a war. This is absolutely a new type of war, but that's a war. It's a broader discussion how to make the country put on the war all 45 million. 3% of our territory now temporarily occupied, and Crimean Peninsula. It's almost 7%. But the rest of the territory developed the country. So this is it's a good question, by the way, because part of this attack just demonstrates that you are not a successful country. And this is one important thing why it's use such tools like and means like a cyber attack. So undermine stability, to demonstrate that you are wrong direction, to choose wrong direction. And our country try to demonstrate that we are on the right way. And we create a good system, not prevention yet, frankly, but response. to secure our network. And not Peter virus, for example. Ukrainian specialists in Ukrainian specialized center demonstrate ability to stop this attack, respond, and immediately to restore the damaging units. So we are more prepared, and probably it's good for next period that somebody just shake this world. But unfortunately, it's not a right thing, just kill people, not right thing. But now we're in the 21st century, we understand we need to discuss absolutely new era. And it's from one hand. From another hand, be prepared that somebody try to undermine international order, just absolutely lie on you, open lie on the highest level, can use the state as a main actor of the cyber attack. So many things that we forget from the so-called active measures of Soviet Union.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. If everyone wants to ask a question, please, you can now move to the microphones and I will point at you. Just very quickly then, active measures, you talked about that. This is obviously a Soviet-era strategy. I mean, is Vladimir Putin winning? Do you think that this is he materially gaining by this? Does it make sense? From your perspective as his adversary, does it make sense from what he is doing to you?
You ask about his goal?
I'm asking about his strategy.
His strategy, it's a question that's asked many times. So I met with Putin many times, and the different position. And there's the deputy minister for foreign affairs. And the previous time, I remember Putin from position of the head of department in presidential administration in 1997. I think that Putin he have a deep roots in the Soviet time. I also was born in the Soviet period.
He was a KGB agent during the Soviet era.
Yeah, and he won't restore not Soviet state, but Russian Empire. Russian Empire that you have monarch, not like in Great Britain, no. It's Tsar. Tsar who is ruling everything. And all their neighborhood, post-Soviet space, must belong to his control. So he wants to be equal player in the world, geopolitical player, have control and impact on the territory broader than Russia, and discuss geopolitical issue equally with the President of the United States. Doesn't matter the name of the President of the United States. This ultimate goal. And internally, just keep the authority internal country. Russian people support initially 2014, support annexation of Crimea by 75% of Russians. Now it's 45. So sometimes it's by the way, it's another attack on our brains. Information through TV channels. We discuss new technology, but TV channels still the main source for Russians. And for Americans, by the way, I'm not sure the social networks now and social media prevail. No, not yet. It will be next years. So TV channels. And that's why this information attacks goes inside the country against the brains of the whole people, brainwash for all people.
Barry.
My exact question. So I've worked on information warfare quite a bit this year. I've done a lot of research, and I've watched U.S. cultural and political movements and memes being weaponized to change behavior and to create friction and fission between different parts of society. And I'm curious to what extent you feel that you are able to keep the Ukrainian people from having their perspectives or opinions on politics and culture generally shaped by Russia.
Well, you're right, firstly, about this technology dividing country. Dividing country, dividing society, that's the main technology, how we can create conditions for this information attack. If we speak about culture, about identity, about unity, in my country, we face that even early. I think you are, United States, if you allow me, as ambassador of foreign country, faced that only 2 years ago, not before, but we faced it before. So it's interesting, initially it was used dividing by culture, religion, language, so many belonging to even gender, other things, and it was used like a mean and tool dividing the country, dividing the people. So we have to be very careful about that, because now left populist and right populist erased in Europe, in my country, and around the globe. And the first response should be in this sphere. The most important people on that period, journalists, some not decision makers even, but leaders of nation. And by the way, it's helped us now a lot that we agree now fight for our own church, Ukrainian church, and I believe next month will give us good news, because we still have Russian church in our territory. So
there's a split between the Orthodox churches, between the Ukrainian.
Yeah, many things to say about that. But it's a simple, make the story short. I said this before cyber attacks comes. Initially comes attacks on your identity, your unity, and your culture. That's important.
And has their strategy evolved beyond that, or is that kind of the end?
Sorry?
Has that strategy evolved at all in Ukraine over time?
It's a strategy. We have different strategies, including adopted by the parliament. But frankly, strategy not enough. We need real steps. We need resources for that. Our strategy very simple, and Putin, Russian leader, helped us a lot. He united the nation, so he makes our job. He makes that we did not do for a long time. Now, can you imagine, for example, with the United States? Importance of the relationship with the United States 10 years ago, it was only 2% of our people. Now it's significantly grows 10 times. Within belonging to Euro-Atlantic community, only 17% said we have to enter NATO as a main security organization. Now it's more than 60%. So it's a dramatic changes in society by main factor war, because we have 75% of relatives and friends that have wounded or killed people. So Putin helped us a lot to maintain this strategy. We have the strategy on the paper, but strategy in our mind. Very simple. We will fight for our independence, sovereignty. We will fight our absolutely essential right to choose our way, to choose our path for the future. So that's the strategy. And definitely defend the country. We still fight, and we beginning from zero capabilities. Now we are on top 10 army in Europe. So that's
very quickly, one more question. Evan, were you first? I'm not sure who was first. Sorry.
I'm not sure either.
Please allow me, because mine's really brief and it's so closely related to the previous one. Evan's might go in a slightly different direction. Ambassador, since you have a foot in both worlds, in the U.S. and Ukraine, if you were to go up to the man or the woman on the street in Kyiv, in Lviv, in Lvov, any place there, and consider their counterpart in America, in cities or rural, and said, no matter what your political position is or orientation, are you aware that you are being manipulated? Are you aware that people are working on you, whether it's through TV, the old channel, or through social media and other means? Are you aware that this is happening to you and it's helping form your opinions? What would they say in Kyiv? What would they say when you go out in Washington?
You ask me what they answer to me?
Are Ukrainians aware that they're being
aware? Okay. You know, probably, I do not have this result of sociological survey, but it seems to me only people who belong into middle class and to studied in university can understand now this real threat. So I think it's 30% of population, 30, 35, not more. And that's another problem, how to teach people, how to give the chance to people to understand these threats. And another problem, people try to avoid, especially people older generation, try to avoid think about new, very difficult things for them. Very simple, and another answer for your question. Unfortunately, according to sociological surveys, very easily change mind of the people in a short time. I give you example. We have our one of the person who was a criminal. He was criminal in the Soviet time, and now having a program, TV show on TV channel for half of year, he have 8% of supporters candidate for presidency. It's the people. So that's a real problem. We have managed that.
I'm afraid we're out of time, but obviously you can approach the ambassador perhaps during a break and we can answer more of the questions. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much.